Happy Sunday and welcome everyone to episode 46 of Video Game Club. As always, I am your host, Tyler, and I have with me today the fifth scribe, Austin.
Hello.
Hello, Austin. And back again, the heart of our cards, Mox.
Oh, so lovely. Oh, that's not a reference to this game. That's okay. I do like Yu-Gi-Oh!
There's a little bit of a reference in there.
There is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference in this game, which we'll talk about later on, because I thought it should have been expanded on, and I was a bit upset about it. So how's everyone's Sunday going?
Excellent.
It's
Nice. Good. What have you guys been playing? Period. Like besides Inscryption, what kind of video games you been playing, Austin?
I started up Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, goodness.
Really?
I did.
Why?
I can't believe you withheld this information from me.
Had you not beaten it?
I have never played it before.
Ooh.
But someone got it for me for Christmas, and I did
Merry
a
Christmas.
big old hardware upgrade on my computer
Oh.
over the last week or two.
Windows 11, baby.
Unfortunately, yeah, I have Windows 11 now. But I've got enough new stuff. I can do resizable bar, and Red Dead Redemption 2 can take advantage of that. And anyways, no stuttering. It run like I turned everything to
Ooh.
max. I'm getting like 80 frames a second. So that's
Dang.
really fun.
So you're experiencing top fidelity too, like
Yeah,
really pretty.
No stutters, and so far it's really cool. It's kind of like playing a movie.
Mhm.
I'm still
Are
in
you
like
out
the
of the
snowy area.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, are you out of the snow?
No,
you're
not
not.
yet.
When you get out of the snow, it's the game changes a bit.
Okay.
And then there's another part where the game changes, and then there's
Okay.
another part where the game changes. But
There you go. So it sounds like this is a changing game.
it is. The people who have played it all the way through will know what I'm talking about, and for those that don't, I highly recommend checking it out. I didn't finish it all the way, and I really want to go back and play it.
Okay.
So, you think you're gonna play it? Like, you think you're gonna keep her going? Because if so,
Yeah.
I might start it up again.
It's one I plan to get through all the way.
Okay.
But other than that, I've been playing Yakuza Dead Souls.
Yeah.
What?
Tell. I know. I've made you repeat it in Discord before, but
Sure.
I feel like this version will be a bit shorter because it's
Yeah.
audio. Please
Yeah.
explain to everyone how difficult it is to buy a PlayStation 3 game in 2022, the year of our Lord.
Okay. So I was going to watch this as a game movie online because it's like not canon, but it's supposed to be kind of fun. Of just like in terms of the story. So I started watching the YouTube video of it, and within a minute, I was like, I need to play this game. So I went from saying I would like to buy Yakuza Dead Souls, and it took me about 2 hours from that point to actually make my purchase.
Well,
First, I looked to see if I for some reason I thought the physical copy was going to be like cheap. It's like $80. So I said, okay,
Jeez.
I'll buy digital. I go look on the PlayStation Store on their website, and it's unlisted. It's not there. Damn. Okay.
In the browser. In the browser.
Yeah. So I start looking online. It's like, how are people getting a hold of this game? And as recently as like October of last year, people were buying it for $20 on the PlayStation Store. So I thought, okay, something's up here. And it turns out I completely forgot about this. After the whole snafu last year where they were going to get rid of the PlayStation 3 store and the PSP store,
Yeah.
and they reversed that, you can still buy PS3 and PSP games, but you can't do it from a device that isn't a PS3 or a PSP. They will only list those games like on the stores on that system.
good to know.
Yeah. So I go boot up my PS3. The store doesn't work. It just keeps crashing. Apparently
Okay.
you can delete and re-download the store. I didn't know that, but that fixed that. I get in, I find the game, add it to my cart. It's $20. That's fine with me. It's weird that a game that old costs as much as like a remaster of one of their main games, but whatever. That's fine.
You spent it.
I wanted to spend it, and it was very difficult. I went to go check out, and it was like, hey, you haven't been on this system recently, so you need to re-enter your credit card information. So I did. It errored out, said, oh, no, that's not right, but if you want to, you can remove this payment option over in this spot. And that spot doesn't exist. At least not anymore. So I keep trying. I start looking online. Apparently, you cannot make credit card purchases on PS3 any longer. Like, there's some security issue. They don't want to fix it, so they just said, no credit card purchases. You have to fill up your wallet on a different browser or platform and then go back in and purchase it. So I get on my phone, get on the browser, trying to purchase credit. You can only do it in $5 increments, so I can't pay for the exact amount. I have to get extra wallet credit, whatever. That just keeps erroring out. I remove my payment options, and like it's just gives me a nondescript error that it won't complete the transaction. I look online, other people are having the same issue. I don't know what causes it, but ultimately they just gave up and said, I'll buy a gift card. So I get on Amazon and buy a gift card for PlayStation. Redeem that, get it into my account. I have to restart the PlayStation 3 store so it'll pick up the new balance. I'm able to get past where I was before and make it to like the final checkout screen. I'm ready to go. It's 21.33 or something like that. I hit the button and it goes, hey, you need to verify your credit card information because you haven't been on here in a while. And it doesn't work. And so I'm banging my head against the wall trying to figure out what's going on. I finally find a Reddit post, and buried in the comments, somebody's just like, hey, I figured out what's wrong. If you have a credit card attached to your PlayStation account at all, it won't let you proceed with the transaction, even if you have wallet credit. So I have to go remove the credit card again from my account.
What?
Jeez.
Oh my god. It finally let me go through.
You did buy it, and you have been playing it.
I did buy it. I've been playing it. It took 8 hours to download on gigabit connection. It's only 20 gigs.
Gosh.
But like PlayStation 3 internet. Hooray.
Wait, why is the internet bad on the PS3?
Did you
plug it in?
I mean, it was on Wi-Fi, but that just old systems download very slow.
Wow.
That's just how it was back then. So, yeah, I'm glad that I can still buy PS3 games. It's very frustrating that it has to be that hard.
Well, it's better than they're taking away the Wii U, altogether.
For sure. Like I said, I'm happy to have the option. Like I was willing to jump through the hoops. It's just crazy that it's that difficult. But
what is the game?
Super fun. So it's a non-canon like zombie spin-off of Yakuza. It's based on Yakuza 4. And honestly, I think it probably would have worked. Probably would have done better. Maybe it wouldn't have done better. But I think it probably should have been maybe cut down just a little bit and been like a bit of an expensive DLC or expansion. Just for how much it has in common with Yakuza 4. But I don't know.
Huh. Crazy. Mox, what have you been playing besides Inscryption?
Well, I played Casey's Mod, which is not technically the game that we played for this club.
Kind of.
I guess. It was amazing. I just love it. I played the whole game for like 40 hours altogether. More than that. I can't get enough of it. But anyway, aside from that, I'm just playing everything in Rune Factory 4. I just can't get enough of that game either.
That game is solid.
I'll have to play Rune Factory 5 as soon as I finish Rune Factory 4.
Ooh.
I know. I just love it. I can't get enough of the genre.
Nice. I started Earthbound a little bit. Yeah, it's okay so far. I'm not very far, but I know that a lot of people really, really love Earthbound. I never finished it. I've done the beginning so many times, and I just want to finish it for once. But then I've also been playing Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I was a guest on the Nerd Association podcast, which is Daniel's podcast. He's been on the show before when we talked about Metroid Dread. And maybe we'll have him back on.
Yes, we'd love to.
Yeah, we should. We totally should. But we're not here to talk about any of that. We're here to talk about Inscryption on this wonderful podcast called Video Game Club,
Yay.
Which occurs every 2 weeks, where we discuss a game voted on by our wonderful friends in the Bombchu Discord and discuss that right here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV. hopefully with little interruptions usually. If you can't catch us live though, don't worry. You can find us on YouTube and all major podcast services. Just search Bombchu Video Game Club. And if you appreciate what you're hearing, please consider subscribing, rating, commenting. Let us know what your favorite episode was. I would like to know from our listeners a few things. I'm curious, I guess just one thing. But if there's a game that you want us to talk about, that you want us to play, a suggestion, let us know. We usually, like, me and Mox and Austin, we have like a 3-way chat where we discuss like, oh, what do you think about these games and stuff like that. There's not many limitations with our new format. Like if it's a longer game, that's kind of okay. If it's a shorter game, it just needs to be somewhat accessible. It doesn't need to be multi-platform, but it helps. But if you're interested in, I don't know, suggesting something for Video Game Club, let us know in the Discord or leave a comment on YouTube. Either one. And yeah, I am curious what you guys think. As a reminder, the nominations for this episode were Chibi Robo, Inscryption, and Amori. And these were nominated by the wonderful Mox. Yep. We will Chibi Robo eventually.
And I want to play Omori too. Is it so rude to force everyone to pick one of those two games eventually?
Let us know in the comments if it is rude or in Discord.
Both games are on my to-do list, so like if you hadn't brought them up, I would have eventually.
Yeah. Inscryption is a deck building game with some escape room puzzles sprinkled in. I don't know if escape room's the right word, but you're in a room and you do some puzzles in them. I wouldn't consider it an escape room.
Yeah, that part of the marketing I disagree with.
It was developed by Daniel Mullins Games. Daniel Mullins is, of course, famous for Pony Island and The Hex. I haven't played these. Austin, Mox?
No.
I played both.
And?
I love them. But once I found out Inscryption was made by him, I got very excited to play it.
Oh, very cool. Daniel doesn't work on these by himself. He has some work from like some partners, like with 3D artists, for example, specifically for Inscryption. And Jonah Sinzel works on the music and sound effects of this game. So he did the OST and stuff.
They're good.
Yeah. This game was published by Devolver Digital, and we've played 3 games published by them already. Guesses?
Is Gree one of them?
Yep. Gree's one of them.
Hotline Miami.
Yep. The Lost Episode, Hotline Miami. And?
Night in the Woods?
No. You play a little penguin? Oh, no, a crow.
Oh,
a crow?
Yeah.
Oh, Death's Door.
Death's Door, yep.
Which also came out in 2021.
Hey,
with this game.
Spoilers.
I did some homework.
We're not there yet. Calm down. Devolver Digital is also going to be publishing Return to Monkey Island, which I know a lot of people are extremely excited for.
I feel like they publish everything. Is that just my perception? They publish everything I like, but also just everything.
I would say they publish a lot of Mox games, probably.
Okay.
They publish just a lot of really good games, like a lot of good indie games.
Donut County, right? Isn't that Devolver as well?
I think that was Annapurna Interactive.
I think that's Annapurna, which also a Mox publisher, I would say.
Yes, I love both of those. So good.
This game was released October 19th, 2021 for Windows. It's developed in the Unity engine. 2021 in gaming. So here's an interesting thing when I was doing my homework for this. So we've played some games, like Austin already mentioned, from 2021. And when we did, we talked about what hardware was coming out. And that changed from when that time. Yeah. So 2021's over. So we got the Switch OLED. The Analog Pocket came out. The Atari VCS.
What's an Analog Pocket?
What's an Analog Pocket?
I don't even know these things that you're saying.
Oh my gosh. Analog Pocket. You'll have to look it up. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of hardware. Imagine like it's basically like a Game Boy, but it plays like, Game Boy cartridges, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance cartridges, and it uses like hardware emulation, right, Austin? Like,
that's the easy way to put it. Yeah, it's FPGA technology for the people out there who really care.
No.
And a little fun fact: didn't Phil Fish make the OS for it?
I know he worked on the analog, like the Super NT.
Yeah. I thought he had his hand in this too. Maybe not.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
the Atari VCS, Mox, the reason why you don't know it is because it came and gone. It was Atari's new console that they were really pushing for.
Oh.
And the Evercade VS has some following, but it also kind of flopped.
Yeah.
But two things were also supposed to come out in 2021, but didn't. The Steam Deck, which got delayed. Did you know I was going to bring that up, Austin?
Yeah.
Okay. And the Playdate as well was supposed to come out.
Amico.
And the
What?
Amico.
Oh my goodness.
The Playdate is probably I would say the Playdate is probably some Mox hardware. It's a small little like Game Boy like thing with a small black and white screen. It has a crank on it. It was designed in Sweden.
Oh, great. You know how much I love Sweden.
And it by a famous industrial designer that I can never remember the name. But it's made by Panic, the people that make Firewatch, which, fun fact about Firewatch, that was the first Video Game Club episode that was put on YouTube. And it was the first one that Mox was on, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The first not lost episode.
It's found.
Hardware. They make hardware and software, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they do they have like a Mac IDE, for example, like a coding IDE, which is really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Software that came out in 2021, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, Skyward Sword HD, Far Cry 6, and two other games we played. Austin already mentioned Death's Door. What is the other one that came out in 2021 that we played, Austin? Do you know?
Metroid Dread.
Metroid
right.
Dread. That is correct. Man, you did your homework. I'm so proud.
Last night I was like, I gotta remember.
Yeah, so Inscryption. We're gonna kind of, I don't know, change the format a little bit. I just want to talk a little bit about the development a bit because I think it's really interesting. And then we'll talk about the release and reception. Then we'll put on the spoiler tag, and then we'll just kind of go through a mix of like, what is this game? How did we feel about it? Some plot stuff. Mox will probably tell us, explain in detail how what this game is. But I'm gonna. You guys probably know this game jam, but I'm gonna say it wrong because I think it's Latin. Mox, you're a big Latin person, but it's called Ludum Dare.
I will see.
Ludum
In
Dare?
Latin, you would say Ludum Dare because it's like
Ludum Dare. I'm okay.
Well, but I don't know if that's how like the American pronunciation. Like we
That's
don't
probably-
say croissant. We
that's
just say croissant.
Maybe they say Ludum Dare.
Chimichanga.
It was initially built for the 43rd of that game jam in 2018. Those game jams are really popular on itch.io. I follow them quite a bit, and there's some really, really cool stuff comes out of them. But they always have a theme, and the theme for this one was sacrifices must be made.
Oh, very appropriate.
Yeah. Daniel Mullins was getting back into Magic the Gathering. I've never played Magic. Mox, Austin.
I
I was
played
Yu-Gi-Oh.
briefly.
Okay. Does the card game remind you of Magic, Austin? From what you briefly played, or?
I mean, in that it is a trading card game that with it reminds me about as much as Magic as it does like the Pokemon trading card game.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. But he took influence from that, from the sacrifice mechanic that's in Magic the Gathering, where you sacrifice your creatures to play other ones. So you have to sacrifice like your cards. It depends what deck you play as, and we'll talk about that further along. But the game was named Sacrifices Must Be Made, based after the theme of the jam. He put it up on itch.io. People loved it. And he just finished releasing the Hex, and he decided, okay, I'm going to expand on this Sacrifices Must Be Made game, which became Inscryption. The game is like, there wasn't like much that I could find really about like the development of this game. Like you can like Leshy, he comes from like some Slavic mythology stuff, like a forest demon, and he felt like that would kind of fit like the horror theme of the game. The other three scribes he kind of got from like, he compared them to like Pokemon gym leaders. There's like a robotic one, magic one, undead one. They all have like their own little themes. He thought about adding additional acts for the other scribes in the game, but eventually decided not to because of the game's length. But some stuff did get like, he wanted to expand a bit on each one based on what I read at least. And he did a little bit on the magic one, Grimora, but at the end, and we'll talk about that. But this game, it was reviewed pretty well when it came out initially. I think it's overwhelmingly positive on Steam, or very positive. People like this game quite a bit. People really like that the whole, the card game and how it scales and everything like that. The art style, the horror elements, the innovation behind this game, the audio, the sound. The only thing that I could find that people weren't like super crazy about was the story. And I also wasn't super big on the story, and we will talk about that at the end. It was very unsatisfying. The game did sell more than 1 million copies as of January of 2022. And there was a free update released with the game. It's kind of like a mini expansion called Casey's Mod. Yep. Which, Mox, you played a bit of, and so maybe you can you kind of
everything.
Can you tell us a bit about Casey's Mod?
I was going to tell about it when we talk about the story.
All right. Let's do that now. I'm going to put on the spoilers tag. If you haven't played this game,
play it.
Play it, but
this don't spoil.
Yeah, this game can be spoiled for you. I feel like personally, I would have been fine with spoilers for this game.
I disagree vehemently.
But it kind of reminds me a lot of like One Shot in a way.
Yes. You have to go into it blind and not expecting.
Would you agree, Austin? Blind?
No.
Put him on the spot.
Dang, no comment.
I can see why people don't want to be spoiled. I see where you're coming from, though. That some people won't really be bothered by knowing where it goes.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about what is Inscryption, and we're gonna sprinkle some plot stuff in there. And Mox, we're gonna just go act by act, talk about how they are, and Mox definitely sprinkle in all your lore stuff while we go through. So
I'm ready.
It's a roguelike deck building game, at least that's how it kind of starts off. It's broken into 3 acts.
Which is not apparent at the beginning.
It is not apparent at the beginning, and it's not apparent in the screenshots shown or the video or anything.
Or any of the marketing or description of the game.
Which is why I wouldn't spoil it. Don't spoil that.
Yeah. Well, the spoilers tag is on, Mox. So.
I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah. But it's broken into 3 acts, and the game changes quite a bit with each act, like significantly.
Like it's a totally different game.
Yeah, completely different. It's played on a 3x4 grid, which expands to like a 3x5 grid in the 3rd act. It's a card game that you play. The way that it works is that there's each deck plays differently, but the first deck that you play as is based around animals, and it has a lot to do with sacrifices. So you can either draw. You have a deck of cards, and you can either draw a squirrel, which you know will be a squirrel, or you can draw another creature, which you don't know what it will be when you draw it. Squirrels are mainly used for sacrifices. There are some like little power-ups that you can do and stuff to make them a bit strategic, I would say. Mm-hmm. And I found that was extremely helpful.
Yeah, it's pretty. It was necessary for me.
yeah, because you can when you make a free card really strong, it's kind of nuts.
Yes, you have to specify. You can summon the squirrels for free. You can place them anytime. If you have a whole hand of squirrels, you can place like every single squirrel.
Yep. Yes. The squirrels for the first deck that you play in Act 1, the squirrels have to be sacrificed. Other animals can be sacrificed as well, but squirrels is like the easiest one to sacrifice.
They're built to be sacrificed.
They are built to be sacrificed. It's true. And you sacrifice them, and depending on what card you have in your hand, that card may require like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 sacrifices to be played. The way that you win the card game is that there's the scale, and what happens is that as you play a card and as it attacks, if there's not a card facing you or like, and it's not exactly facing your card because there's some little rules where it shifts a bit, but you basically attack. If there's nothing there, you attack the person. It reminds me a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a lot like that.
Also, that Hearthstone.
Yep.
Is that like that too?
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
That's one I haven't
Attacking
gotten
face.
into. Mm-hmm. And so you do like life damage basically, and for the scale, I think it's 5 is like the default. So you have to do plus 5 damage to someone. So if someone did 3 damage to you, and you do 5, that's not enough because you're only, you would only be like plus a certain amount,
2.
right? Plus 2, yeah. So you have to do
maths.
quick maths, yeah. So you have to be +5 to win. And that's the kind of like the mechanics of the beginning of Act 1 with the card game piece. There's a map that you go on. It's random every time. You have 2 lives, except when you fight a boss for some reason. They're like, well, because it's a boss, we're gonna,
Well, the benefit is if you have 2 lives going into the boss fight, he gives you something called the smoke for having sacrificed your life, which is also like a squirrel.
Oh, I never noticed that. I didn't know that there was a pattern to receiving that card.
Yeah.
It's if you have 2 lives.
It's the smoke that comes from him extinguishing one of your flames.
Okay.
And then if you extinguish the smoke in the room, you get a special smoke.
All right. So let's talk about now, Act 1. You're in this cabin. It's very spooky.
Well, hold on. Before you even get there, when you open the game,
yes.
you can only hit
continue.
Continue. And like the new game button is like weird and glitchy.
And also a core mechanic of the card game piece. So I know you were bringing up the randomized map. So the map reminded me of Slay the Spire, and then that reminded me also, you can see what cards the enemy's going to play next.
Mm-hmm.
So you get you can kind of strategize about what your next turn is going to be. So you're getting that information. It's not just like, surprise!
Yeah, unlike Yu-Gi-Oh, actually, in that case.
You activated my trap card.
And along the way, similar to Slay the Spire, there's little things that you can do, like, oh, this little area powers up your card, or this one you can sacrifice to do this, or, there's all kinds of little things like that along the way. Fun fact about this whole continue thing, when I wanted to... So I played, a little bit of this, but whenever we picked it for Video Game Club, I wanted to start off fresh, and I was like, how do I delete my save? And then I deleted it, and I'm like, why is it only letting me continue?
That's funny.
Yeah. So you're in this spooky cabin. It's candlelit. It's all like, ooh, in the woods and everything. And it's really weird. And you see this, these eyes from across, the flame and across the table. And you can only really make out the eyes. You can't really see much. You can see a face, sometimes a hand. But you can't see a full body. Usually it's just a face and a hand. You can get up from the table, which is really cool. Sometimes. And there's a lot of puzzles that you can do.
In and around the cabin.
Yeah, and the puzzles give you new cards. I don't know. Do they give you anything else besides new cards?
The totem head.
Oh, really?
That's how you get the squirrel thing.
Oh yeah, the first one. Yeah.
And sometimes it'll be a key to get into something else in the room.
But you, so you go through if you die, which you will probably die your first time at least, you wake up, I guess, in this like dark room, and he takes a photo of you and makes this thing called a death card of you, right, Mox?
Yeah, death card. And so you go through the cards that were in your deck when you died and choose like which. So the card is of you, and so you get to choose like which of these random cards from your deck will represent how much it costs to play this card, and then what the attack is and what the health is. And then you get your card, and then you're dead. And then that card shows up
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, it'll show up in the next time you start playing.
Well, one thing I like about it is the theme throughout the whole entire game, specifically with any time you play like Leshy's deck. Well, no, it's true everywhere. You want to keep your deck like streamlined. So if you die a bunch of times and you have like a whole bunch of death cards, it's unlikely you'll get like that one death card that you really made super awesome that one time. So it's like, I don't know, the whole game is about like the benefits of keeping a low death count, keeping a low card count, not acquiring every single thing. I like
Which
that.
Stinks because if you're bad at the game, then you know what I mean? Like the worse you are at the game, the harder it is to get the one OP card that you made.
I was just gonna say I made a card called OP Nerd, and he was super powerful, and it was really awesome. He only needed one sacrifice, and he did 7 damage, and it was just nuts.
It's funny.
Yeah, he helped me win the game.
Well, this is a strategy, but I feel like this game, the way to win the game is to have as many zero cost cards and as many cards that you can play without having, like if they can revive themselves. I don't know how much I want to spoil. You want to have the everlasting cards that are zero cost. That's the way to win the game.
That's not how I want it. I went for power.
No, you're wrong.
Well, it got me to the end, so joke's on you. So you go through. There's 4 maps that you have to get through. Each map is kind of themed. The first one is the Prospector, right? And his boss battle is really funny because he like turns your cards into gold. Then there's a fisherman, right? The angler.
The angler.
Importantly, the bosses have 2 phases.
Yes.
So after removing one of your lives, the boss has 2 lives.
Because he cheats.
Yeah.
I like that each phase has like a little different gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is true. Is the pack mule part of the Prospector one?
Yes.
Yeah. So then there's an angler, and then what was the third one? Do you guys remember?
It was
the
trapper and the trader, right?
Yeah, and then you have the trapper and the trader. And the funny thing is, the guy that you see across the table, his name's Leshy, and Leshy will put on a mask to like be like, now I'm this person, ha 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 ha,
and
set
like, all the ambiance around.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I did not like the trapper trader fight because the background music has like the sound of tearing flesh. I really don't like that.
Oh, I didn't notice that, but I also don't like that.
I played it with headphones. Mistake.
You heard all the sounds.
Yeah, I did not like that.
Yeah. There are some cards in this section that are like story cards, I guess you would say. There's a stoat. What are the other ones? Do you remember?
Like an ant. And isn't there the other one a skunk? I forget.
Yeah, but they're basically people that are trapped, and they're kind of talking to you at the same time. So like if you go to like sacrifice them, they'll be like, "Don't sacrifice me," stuff like this.
Play me first,
or play me. Yeah, they'll like,
or like your power up thing, like, "Oh, it's me." I like the stoat is always like, "It's me."
Right.
No matter where I played the stoat, he was always like, "Garbage play."
I know.
Terrible.
Yeah, he's trash.
And then when I got later in the game, I understood where that all was coming from. But
yeah, it takes some time before you. So you get through the whole thing. You fight all the bosses. You explore the cabin. You learn this card game after some time, and then you eventually have to fight Leshy himself, and you beat him. And then the game kind of shuts off, and this weird thing happens where you're shown like a bunch of video, like live action video clips. And this is when the plot really starts to unfold. You get to see some clips of like a YouTuber named what is his name?
Luke Carter, or the Lucky Carter.
Yeah, Luke Carter. Also his alias, the Lucky Carter, and he's just like a guy who just like opens up like trading card packs. He finds an old pack called Inscryption cards. He opens them. He finds one that's like kind of half opened at like a yard sale or something. It has coordinates on it, of course, which he goes to with a shovel. Also, I want to say like he was not very prepared for that digging.
So it was really close by to him. So he kind of just went out there on a lark. That wasn't like a big planned trip or anything like that.
Oh, really?
He specifically mentioned, he was like, these coordinates are like super close to me.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that. So he went out there with his little trowel, dug up the card, or dug this like box up, and in the box was a floppy disk for all the young kids. But before you could just download everything.
No, they don't deserve this information. It's secret. It's private.
There was this thing called a CD. Before CDs, there was this thing called a floppy, and before floppies, there was another thing too. Before that, there was I know. There was a tape. Okay, but there was a floppy disk.
Cards.
Yeah, punch card. That's where the term bugs come from.
Oh my god.
But
it's a floppy disk.
It's a floppy disk.
It's Inscryption.
And you watch some videos of him. Do you watch him?
So he calls the company that makes the Inscryption floppy disk, Game Funa, and is like, "Hey, did you guys make a Inscryption game?" And they're like, "No." What do you have? What are you talking about? And he's like, nothing. And so he's like starting it up and, looking at it. And he's like, wow, I don't know what this is. And I don't think in that first set he gets.
They also demand that he return the disc.
Yes.
Like, if this is an unauthorized thing, like, you need to send it back to us.
I think that happens after Act 2 starts in the middle of it, right?
I thought it was when he contacted them initially. Their
check.
response was that it didn't know that there was no official game made, and that he needs to send the disc over to them.
He doesn't listen because he's he's really curious. And you know what they say about curiosity, but he's really curious, and he inserts the game into his. Well, he doesn't insert it into his computer actually because it's an old floppy disk. He has to buy
a floppy drive.
Yeah, floppy drive, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah,
he buys the floppy drive. He hooks up to his computer, which his computer looks like a classic like computer that you had in school. At least when I was in school, like the classic desktop where the computer's up like underneath the monitor and they put the monitor on top to save room.
Well, I like that it becomes true that like you're playing the game, you are like you the player are Luke because he's recording the game on his camera. So anytime you like start up the game, it like focuses first on like a higher def screen because that's the recording, and then it goes into the like lower def of the floppy disk. I like that.
And every once in a while it'll kind of like unfocus the game and like make it look like you're looking at a screen and kind of say something.
Yeah, that's cool. He does make little comments that are really cool, like especially if you like do a really like high damage or you lose or you misplay or something.
He goes, "Woo!"
He's like, "Oh, dang it!" Yeah, stuff like that. So Act 2, which is my favorite act. Oh my gosh, it's so good, so good. You start off, you get to pick between four.
Wait. Hold on. At the end of Act 1, you unlock the new game button.
True,
because Fleshy had it captive in one of his rooms
by taking a picture of Leshy.
Yeah,
with his special film
that captures him.
Okay, sorry. So now you start Act 2.
So then you start Act 2. My favorite act. You get to pick between.
Pick new game.
You get to pick new game, but then you get to pick between 4 different decks to use, which is really cool. And I just picked Leshy's deck because I was really familiar with it already.
Yeah.
Going back, I would not though. I'd pick probably Gamora's deck, but there's 4 decks for each scribe. So there's
one for each scribe.
The magic and robotic deck both they had like new mechanics that were freely reading them. I was like, I don't understand this.
Me neither. I didn't like them,
especially magic.
Right now.
I rejected them. It was too much newness.
Yeah, like if they had kind of given me like a little here, try it out, maybe I would have picked one of those. But I probably could have done the undead because it's like I understood the bone system. But yeah.
That's what I was going to say, is that so it becomes true that the first act is 2 of the decks. Leshy's deck with the sacrifices and then Gamora's deck with the bones.
Yep.
And so in starting Act 2, you unlock the new magic deck and then the new electricity one.
But you also get new cards for Gamora's deck, the dead.
That's true.
Yeah, there are some special, like especially like the grave diggers, for example, that give you bones each round,
or the ones where you can like press a button on the card and it like levels up.
Yes.
Those are really cool. So there's four scribes. They're basically like tombstones when you pick the deck that you're gonna pick, and there's 4 decks, 1 for each scribe. There's Gamora, the scribe of the dead. That's the one that deals with the bones that Max was talking about. There's Leshy. We already talked about Leshy. He does the animals, the beasts. There's the sacrifices. There's P03. He's the technology one. With the robots and the batteries and stuff. And they don't really introduce that to you. Like that's just like a completely new deck. Like new mechanics, new deck. If you want to get familiar with it, great. If not, up to you.
They scared me off when they started talking about conduits.
It was too much. There was a lot going on.
Yeah. And then there's Magnificus, which is the magic deck. And it's also completely new. Different mechanics. Very complex.
Boxes. When I was reading that,
I didn't like it.
Thought of you.
I didn't like it. I felt like it was stealing my soul.
So the second act, you pick a deck. And then what you do is there's this map that looks like the Pokemon trading card game map for Game Boy Color. It is so beautiful and amazing. And half of it is you can't go past a certain half because the bridge is broken. And so you have to like beat one of the bosses before you can cross the other two.
Well, it says explicitly, this bridge will be repaired probably around the time you beat one of the bosses.
Yeah. And the only 2 bosses available to you are Leshy and Grimora, right? Pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what's really cool about this part that I really liked, besides the whole like aesthetic, the graphics, everything, the style, because it's just a Game Boy Color game basically. And I would love if this was brought out to be its own thing, or if it gets expanded on like Casey's Mod, but that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, the thing that's really, really cool that I found really cool, Mox, I'm curious what you thought about this, you too, Austin, is that you can go to Leshy, you can go in the cabin, and you can like go like explore and do like the same puzzles are there and stuff. And I just thought that was so cool that it's like,
Well,
oh, now I'm in it in 2D, you know?
That's I feel like I don't know if you're supposed to infer at that point that like the first act is Leshy took over the game and made the whole game just about him. So you're in the cabin because that's where he is. And the game is mostly his cards and a couple of Grimoire's cards because he prefers Grimoire over the other two.
True.
So the first act is because he took over the game because he was able to because of the old data.
Which we'll get to.
Yep. So you go through, you beat every boss. Every boss has like 3 little trainers, kind of. If you think about it like Pokemon trading card game, there's like 3 trainers that you have to beat, and then you beat the gym leader or the master or whatever you want to call it. So there's one
throughout this, by the way, if you die, like you don't get sent back. It's just you can try again on any person. So they remove the roguelike aspect.
And you can
and you can also sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So whenever you beat somebody, like you'll get booster packs, and you can like when you do excess damage, you can
get that as money.
You get foils, which is money, and then you can use that to like buy cards. And you can actually go in and like customize and build your deck versus
and
Act 1, it's just like oh, here's what you got.
And you can combine whatever you want, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You can be like, oh, I'll take some tech cards and I'll take some magic and I'll take a little bit of fleshy and make your own. And that was so cool. And there's a part of it in the in PO3's area. There's a section where you can see like how many of the cards do you have from like opening boosters and stuff. You can see like how much of the set that you've completed. And I thought that was just really, really cool. Oh, I love Act 2 so much. Like,
oh my gosh. We're not even going to get to our personal takes.
We'll get there. Anyway, you go through Act 2, you beat everybody, and then they're like, oh, because you beat us, you get to replace one of us, right?
Yes, choose which one you want to replace. Well, first you have to fight that person.
And it's a fake choice.
Yes.
I'm really upset about that. You guys don't seem that upset about it, but it's a fake choice.
They went for the person that I picked anyway, so.
Oh, that's funny, because I chose Leshy.
I also chose Leshy.
Wait, sorry. So I chose Leshy. I thought he tried to kill Leshy? Maybe I'm misremembering this part.
Well, he's like, PO3's like, yeah, no, we're not going to fight him. You're going to fight me, and you're going to lose, and then I'm going to take over.
Yep.
Right. Sorry.
And so then you go to Act 3. And between the second act and the third act, there's another little plot area with like live action clips from Luke again. And this I think is when someone comes to your house to visit you, and it's really weird, right?
Yes. And she's from Game Funa, and she's like, I need that back. And he's like, who are you? I don't even think she gives a name. And
she doesn't.
Like, don't worry about it. I just need that thing. And he's like, I don't have it.
How did you get my address? How did you get past the gate? And that's where it kind of goes sour.
She's like, don't worry about it.
The other thing is that don't you also learn about Casey Hobbs during the second act?
Yes. You had gotten the original deck of cards that contained the coordinates from Casey's mom or grandmother in like a garage sale, and Casey's dead. We don't know like how, but it seems like Casey worked for Game Funa and then had like somehow acquired this floppy disk. I don't know. Is it implied now that Luke and Casey knew each other at some point?
What?
Oh, I didn't
know that.
Up on that at all.
No, please.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to remember when it was. I thought it was during Act 3. Then when you're like, you can find these like spaces that are off the map.
Yes,
when you go a diagonal direction.
That's Act 3. Yeah. So
sorry.
No, it's okay. So Act 3 starts. Also, I should say like during Act 2, after you beat 2 bosses, I think it does some more like live action video, and then it does it again. So we're kind of like adding merging that together, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, going to Act 3, and Act 3 is like very similar to Leshy, the Act 1, except it's PO3 instead. There's a map just like Leshy. It's different, obviously. And you're in a place, but you're in PO3's place, which is really cool from the 2D. So you've already explored it in 2D, and now you get to do it in 3D. I thought that was so neat.
And by the way, PO3 was the stoat the whole time in Act 1. That's why he was such a jerk to you. So he cares really hard about efficient play and, like, this is the best way to play. And
this is the optimal way? Kind of
exactly.
Like Mox was being a real stoat when she said I was going for power, and I should have gone for
I also
low
like
sacrifice.
You play his game, and he's like, I don't know, you have to fight these things. I don't know what they're called. Let's call them Uber bots. You have to go this direction. I don't really know why. That's just how it is. Just do it.
For transcendence.
The great transcendence.
You have to beat 4 of them, I think.
Yeah.
And that I found this area pretty challenging. I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
Because you have to learn his deck now. So, like, before you were like, I don't really need to learn this. And then it turns out, like, yeah, you kind of do. You're going to be using it.
I literally did not use magic or electricity at all during Act 2 because I was like, I don't like it. I don't want it. And then, of course, that's what the only thing you have to play with is.
Yep.
During Act 2.
Magic and, so you go through, you beat him, you go to do the Great Transcendence. And then, like, right before you get to the boss battle, this is when they like pull you to the side, right?
Yeah, you have to go fix something, and the other 3 scribes grab you from a spot where the security camera's broken.
And they're like, "Hey,"
like you're in his house, and they're like, "Hey, we've been here this whole time,
and we're gonna kill this guy." And Austin, I feel like you might have the best explanation of his death since you said you were so scarred by it.
Oh my god! Well, first off, just a quick thing, like this act is a little bit different in that, so instead of cards, you have like floppy disks that anytime you morph them, they go into his computer to get morphed, but you're playing on this holographic table. But also, they kind of bring back, it's not roguelike, but there's now punishment for dying. Like, there's checkpoints, so if you die, you have to redo everything since the last checkpoint. But, they come up with a plan. We're going to kill him. You go do the Great Transcendence, let him think he's winning, and then we'll strike. The Great Transcendence starts, and just from behind PO3, Leshy's hands come out slowly, grab his head, and you see him make this horrible face as his head gets ripped from his body. And it's like, it's a computer. It's not gruesome or bloody or anything like that, but it was just like, that moment was brutal. Oh my god.
Is it during
it's deserved, but still it was just like, oh, Jesus.
Is it during the Great Transcendence when PO3 reveals that, like, oh,
what it is?
I'm going to, and like, we're going to complete this game and release it to the world and all that, right?
Yeah, so each Uberbot is like a piece of the puzzle. I forget what each one does, but I know, like, one of them connect to the web, and so he's basically using you to duplicate, like, to reform this version of Inscryption and then duplicate it across the web so that he's everywhere.
Yeah. One of them has to do with files, which are really cool too.
Oh my god, yeah, that was cool.
So,
I love that one.
So the game ends, and then what happens is like it starts to delete itself, right? There's something that some event, I can't remember how that happens, but there's some.
Grimora takes over and is like, this can't go any longer. We need to stop it. I'm really sorry, but this is too long.
So they start deleting everything, and like,
but it's only deleting stuff from the new data folder.
Yeah. And whenever that's happening, what's really cool is that you actually do like little battles with each scribe. So you fight Leshy again, and like it's like a small fight, and you fight Grimora.
At one point it even takes away like the scale, and he's like, just keep playing with me.
Yeah,
like we won't keep score. And I was like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, that was really nice. And my favorite part about this was Magnificus, the heavily Yu-Gi-Oh inspired battle.
Yeah, where also you have to learn like the magic deck.
Yeah, which was hard, but so the whole game is destroying itself, and like you're playing these things, and like it's slowly deteriorating, and then the game just stops. Mox?
I'm trying to remember. No, he ejects it. He's like, no, I can't let it happen.
Oh, he ejects it, but then I thought he like destroys it with a hammer or something. No, no.
Yes. Yeah, he hits it with a hammer, and then he gets a knock at the door.
Yeah.
And then
Didn't
knock,
like that.
knock.
She waits for him to open the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He opens the door. It's the Game Funa person who came back. She shoots him,
Just shoots him in the head.
kills him.
He's dead.
And
He's bleeding out on
And the last thing
floor.
of the game is you bleeding out, basically, and someone grabbing the inscription disc. And then credits. And I was like, so sad. I was like not for Luke dying. Like, I could care less about that. But like that's the end. Like, there wasn't any cool like Grimoire section. There wasn't any cool Magnificus section. There's no more Game Boy section. It's just
It's gone.
that's it. That's the end.
I wanted to look up what each of the megabots or whatever in his thing did. So it's, you give him access to your hard drive, like you said, to like copy it. You take screenshots for the store page and connect to the internet.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I forgot the store page one. Just so
Gosh.
clever. Anyways, the implication though is that doesn't he succeed or nearly at uploading it? He's nearly.
It's on
succeeds.
Steam, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like that's what I was thinking while this was happening. Is that like he succeeded? This game is everywhere. I'm playing it. It's on my hard drive right now.
You can't kill the old data.
Well, and so we've danced around it, but
Go
the
ahead.
old data is like there's this ARG. What is it? Alternate reality game. I
Mhm.
forget what they stand for.
Mhm.
That explains kind of it, which is like this floppy drive
Nope.
originally.
But wait, before you go into this,
Oh,
this
go
isn't. I just want to say this isn't like people had to do like dive in to details heavily. So like, for
There are some
example,
hints in the game. Like,
There
they
are some,
specifically mention
but-
the old data that it can't be erased, and it's like very evil.
but there's like, for example, there's like a terminal that gets brought up when it like does some sort of stuff, like when I think from Act 1 to Act 2 or Act 2 to Act 3 or something, and you can like Control C and stop that terminal, and you can like LS and like do commands to like look through files and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And like people had to dive in to find this lore that Mox is about to share with us. Go ahead, Mox.
So most of it, I think, is in the game.
Yeah.
But there's like little hints to certain things. There's a lot of binary. You just translate it. It shows up on the screen for 3.5 seconds, and you have to like translate it. And it gives you like a piece. And then there's like a certain card. If you pick it up, it has like a code that you have to use to unlock something else. And anyway, so I think there's 4 little log texts that if you uncode like the cipher and then you enter it, like the guys were saying, in the in-game console, then it gives you these log texts. And it kind of just explains that there was this guy in Germany who found this like floppy disk, and apparently there's also this thing called the Karnoffel code, which is like a sequence of playing cards in a deck, which is the way of unlocking the old data in the floppy drive. And I think it's implied that the old data unlocks like a nuclear warhead that's like supposed to destroy the world that was made by Nazis or something.
Somehow it's connected to Hitler. Yeah.
But the other thing is that the old data itself is like sentient. And so that's the reason why, for example, Leshy with NPO3 were able to take over the game, the data of the game, and make their own game from it. And by putting Inscryption over the top of the old data, which Game Funa apparently did in order to protect the data, which is why that lady is so intent on getting it back, because the old data is very dangerous. Like, I forgot what I was saying. Just like the game is just kind of layered on top of the old data.
Yeah.
But then within the old data, you can unlock, there's like pictures of Luke, and then I think like in his sister who died. It's like,
Whoa.
I don't know. These are I think I couldn't tell if they seemed like they were in the old data, but they might have just been from his hard drive during the PO3 when you unlocked your hard drive. But in any case, you also learn about Casey, and Casey had like tried to, do something Game Funa didn't want, which was like keep the floppy disk, the Inscryption disk, and take it into her own hands. And she took it and hid it, and that's why Luke was able to find it. And they were, trying to get it back this whole time. And then in real life, they buried a floppy disk at the coordinates that were listed in the game. And I think they had like Daniel Mullins and the guy playing Luke, like the live action, like met him there to find this box that was buried. And these people that found it were just so nice. They didn't mess with the floppy drive until they had like a floppy disk drive that they got off the internet, and they streamed the whole, section. And it actually turned out that there was a part of the ARG, the whole cipher that was on the floppy drive. I'm sorry, the disk. I keep saying drive. That was supposed to like help solve the ARG, but there was also in the process of the ARG, the people had thought that there was this one piece of information that happened to contain the information that was on the floppy disk. So they already had solved it. They didn't need the floppy disk.
Oh.
It was just like a total coincidence. I know.
Huh.
I think it had to do with the roof on Leshy's cabin in the Act 2.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but I hated this because there's no answers. All of this information is just more questions.
Right.
And so is Casey's mod. So Casey's mod is just the first act. She finds the disc basically how it is when we find it, which is that Leshy had taken it over. And she really enjoys playing Leshy's game. And so on the side, she's like writing her own mod based on Leshy's version, so Act 1. And so as she plays Leshy's game that we played, she's like making notes saying, yeah, this is kind of OP. I'm going to take that out. I don't really like it. So for example, in Leshy's game, you can get up from the table, go to this little skull that has gold teeth in it, and you can use that to get like more currency to buy pelts to trade to the trader. But she's like, that's so annoying. I hate getting up from the table. So I just took that out. Like I streamlined it. Like there's no puzzles in the cabin. We don't need that. This is about the game.
Huh.
So the whole point of Casey's mod then is it's her mod. And you she had set up challenges and different decks, like starting cards that you could play with, and also new cards to play with as well, that she was like, this seems like a cool card. And you unlock devlogs as you beat the challenges that she had set up. And it's basically her saying like how she's going through Leshy's mod, and then she's like learning about the old data, and then she finds some information about the old data, and then Game Funa's like getting mad at her, and then she learned about the Cardawful Code, which is weird because that's KC and her name's Casey. And then like it ends with her saying, yeah, I made this. I know that someone's gonna find this because I have to get it away from me, but I'm worried that if I don't bury it, then it's gonna get in the wrong hands. But I hope when you find this that you really enjoy the mod I made, because I put a lot of time into it. So I hope you have fun. I know.
Also, there's a narrative connection between this game and the Hex as well, apparently.
Wow.
Oh.
With some characters from the Hex helping PO3 or Game Funa.
I don't know. I didn't play that.
So, little fun fact.
Casey's mod is awesome. Everybody should play it. It's just Act 1 forever.
Where's
favorite.
Tyler's mod? Act 2 forever.
I know. Maybe that'll be the next one.
Oh, please.
Maybe she like got to the second part and then she modded that part too.
Or really Luke's mod or something. I would love.
I don't know. No, he's dead.
Well, Luke's
that.
dead. So.
All right, Austin. Let us. It's time.
Are we saying spoilers or no?
Yeah, I'm keeping it on.
Okay.
Austin, what did you think of this game?
So, it's no secret. I am a moron.
True.
No,
and
so.
I had to get help to finish Act 1, and when I made it to Act 2, I was losing to regular trainers, and not even bosses, and I ended up quitting because I'm just too dumb to play this game. I ended up actually liking Act 1 more because they made a deck for me, and I could kind of pick one card at a time, but trying to make a deck on my own was I can't strategize that well or think ahead. So it was very difficult for me. Act 1, it took me like 5 hours of banging my head against the wall, and I still hadn't beaten like the third boss. And I started trying to look for strategies online, and even following strategies, my play was just too dumb. So I ended up giving up and watching the rest on YouTube. But I really liked a lot about this game. The card mechanics are interesting. The atmosphere, especially in Act 1, like the atmosphere and Leshy himself are really cool. I love his eyes. I love the effect that they do when he talks.
Yes.
I love the sound that he makes when he's talking. Just the whole vibe of the room, the items that you use, like cutting your own eye out to use as like, just you know, all the items have very interesting. Just like Act 1 is brutal. It's very dark, very interesting though. There were some mechanics that I didn't figure out, like the ringworm. I had to go look up what use that is, like what there is for that, and I never would have figured that out on my own. But it's really cool. It's just like, oh wow, that's really cool. There's lots of cool attention to detail. I know the story didn't satisfy you guys, but I kind of liked that there was a lot open to interpretation there. Especially the way they kind of pull the wool over your eyes in Act 3 of just like the purpose of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. While I did not enjoy playing it myself, because I'm too dumb for it, I really enjoyed a lot about the game, and I don't regret having given Daniel Mullins my money.
Hell yeah.
I would give this an 8 out of 10.
Ooh.
Just in terms of atmosphere, style, I think it's just too hard. Even if I was good at the game, everyone that I talked to, other than Mox, spent like 5 or 6 hours getting through that first act. I think the first, like, front loading the difficulty like that is kind of brutal.
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't get higher, but just everything else just oozed style and it was really cool. I don't think I'll forget about this game. 8 out of 10.
Nice. We'll leave you for the end, Mox. So you can take us home.
Okay.
So I was not a big fan of Act 1 at all. I thought it was very punishing, like Austin said. The escape room part was kind of boring. I didn't like the puzzles really. I'm not a big escape room or puzzles person, as you guys know from 999 and stuff like that.
Stab my heart, right? Don't you?
But Act 2, once we got into Act 2, I was so happy. Like, it took me back to some great card games that I used to play on Game Boy Color, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories, Pokemon Trading Card Game, and I loved how there was like little callbacks to those games. I love the map, like how you got cards, how you got money, the traders, the being able to explore the cabin, like, but in 2D. And whenever I got there, the game got like so much more exciting for me. It was crazy. I went from like, this game's kind of boring to this game's super awesome. Act 3 I thought was really good. I think because I was like used to the difficulty, used to how the cards were playing, because I grabbed Leshy's deck, but as I got cards, I mixed PO3's deck as well in there. So whenever I came to Act 3, so I had like a hybrid deck of Leshy and PO3. And then when I came to Act 3, which is just PO3's deck, with a little bit of magic towards the end, it was just kind of like a natural like progression for me. Like I was like, okay, now since I've like experimented with his deck, I can, use it fully and stuff like that. So that was really good. I would love if there was a mod of just Act 2. I really hope that happens. Or I'd be really down if like they just made a spin-off game. I would buy it. Like, here's Act 2. By the way, we added like 2 more decks. I would love that. I thought it was so cool. Game's really solid. Has a lot of twists and turns, which were really cool. I haven't played the other developers' games like Pony Island or The Hex, but I'm really excited to check them out now since of this. It reminded me a bit of One Shot with some of the stuff it does, especially during the PO3 boss battles.
Yes.
But overall, I would highly recommend this game to almost anyone. I loved it, and I would also highly recommend that anyone playing this game, if you can, try to get past Act 1 before putting it down. It is really punishing, but I feel like the game kind of clicks after Act 1, at least for me. And I would also give it 8 out of 10. Great game, but I wasn't a fan of Act 1. Mox.
I loved Act 1. It's so funny you didn't like it as much. I loved it because it's like a puzzle. I love puzzle games. I'm just a big puzzle game girl. And I like doing the puzzles around the room. And I liked how you were kind of rewarded for dying, but also, I don't know, I felt like it was okay that I died, and I didn't feel like, oh, I just ruined everything, because you got to make a card, and sometimes I made one super awesome card, that I was able to use in my final winning run. I think I died 5 times, so it was my 5th.
Oh, I forgot to shout out OP Nerd, my card that I made that led me through Act 1. All right, sorry, go ahead, Mox.
But I really liked Act 1, and then I got to Act 2, and it has like the draft, like drafting your deck like I was used to from Hearthstone. But for the first, you have to beat one of either Leshy or Remora, and I just couldn't beat either of them with any sort of deck I could combine. So I had to Google, and I got really mad, and I was like, I'm not going to play this game anymore. But then I know, in Act 2. But then I Googled, someone was like, hey, just try this draft if you're having a hard time getting started in Act 2. So I did that, and I was like, wow, that was actually really helpful. I used that draft pretty much the rest of Act 2. I really like how you could build up your cards, especially with the mycologists, and then the dummy that you could fight that doesn't attack back and for certain cards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I really liked how you could make cards really OP and just get tons of foils and things like that. And that was what I liked about Act 1, where you could combine cards and sacrifice things and stuff like that. So I was happy I could do it in Act 2. And then I didn't really like Act 3 as much, because I, like I said earlier, I did not use either the robots or the magic during Act 2 or 1, of course. I was like, I don't need those. They're just blah. And then those are the only ones you use during Act 3. But they grew on me. I liked the boss battles. They were really cool. I don't want to spoil them.
Mm-hmm.
Go and play them. And I liked how you could, like, the different ways you could combine cards and like power up cards in that version. I didn't like Act 3 as much as Act 1.
We almost forgot to mention Act 3 opens the board up to 5 lanes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
which was too much. I liked 4. I was fine with 4. And he's like, he does that stupid smug smile when he's like, bet you never seen a game with 5 lanes before. And I really didn't like PO3, but I know that was the point. Anyway, I loved this game. I played it for like 40 hours, including across Casey's mod, which is just Act 1 over and over again, which is perfect for me. I love that it's puzzles. Towards the end of the game, I realized that if you like Alt F4, you can restart like before you made your misplay. And I felt like they were cheating, so I could cheat a little bit. Of course, it doesn't change any of the RNG.
But
like, the
still.
RNG is set as soon as you like get into the encounter. So I just it was fun because it became a puzzle then. Like, I knew that this card was coming up that I had to build to fight against. So it was fun trying to figure out like what combination of cards I had to play, because it's the same combination every time.
Right.
So I liked that puzzle part. So that became less about dying and more about just like figuring it out, the game. Maybe if you guys did that, it would have been more fun for you.
Mox, let me ask you this before you continue on here. If each scribe had their own little section like Leshy and PO3 had, do you think that would have made the game too long? Or do you think it would have added a lot to the game and aesthetic and stuff? Like, I
would love to have like met each scribe as we did Leshy and then later PO3. It was really fun hearing like their different motivations. Like PO3 was all about just like the whatever. He's like, I don't care about the story. Just like, you have too many cards in your deck. You're not playing the game right. And then it's like, okay, we got to get to the greatest transcendence. But then Leshy was like, hey, take some time. I'll just pass my turn this game. He just like really wants you to play the game. That's all he wants is to play the game. I really like learning about the scribes in that way. So I think it would have been really worthwhile.
Okay.
Maybe if they had like shortened PO3's section.
Yeah, it was
because
very
this section's
long.
very long.
Yeah.
Forever. But anyway, I love this game. I think I would give it probably an 8 out of 10 as well, just because I didn't really like the transitions between the acts, which I went into blind, and so I wasn't expecting it. I was like, is this the same game? Did I mess it up somehow? And then they were like, oh, it's Act 1, Act 2. I was like, who decided this? But I really liked playing each individual section once I got used to it. So I'd also give it an 8 out of 10. Highly recommend.
Nice. So, to both of you, do you think this would work as a fair, like PvP game?
No.
Like a physical card game? Oh,
yeah,
or just like PvP in general?
Play by the same rules as you.
No. It would. The whole point of the game is that it's unfair, which is why I like it.
I agree. I think there was some people who tried to make like a physical version of the decks and everything.
You couldn't do that. There's too many like changes on the cards.
No, I think
you track those with tokens.
Yeah, I think they use like tokens and stuff. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm taking off the spoilers tag. That was a little dive and our take on Inscryption, the deck building roguelike Daniel Mullins game. If you enjoyed hearing us discuss Inscryption and want to join us for the next Video Game Club episode, stay put, because our next Video Game Club vote just ended, and it was between Luna Knights, Austin? Toho?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's Toho.
Toho Luna Knights, Minoria, and Unsighted. And the winner is, wow, with quite a big lead. It's going to be Toho Luna Knights. It's a
Yay.
Metroidvania-esque game, I think. It's on, if you're playing along, I think it's on Switch, Xbox, might be on PlayStation as well, PC. Most of the things. You can find it. Thank you everyone who voted, and thank you everyone for joining us. As always, again, just as a reminder, you can catch us here on twitch.tv/BombchuTV every 2 weeks at 2 Eastern, with the next stream being on April 24th.
Wow.
And if you can't make the live session, don't worry. You can find it on YouTube and all major podcast services. Go play Inscryption, right? I think we would all agree. Worth a play.
Please do.
I would say so.
Or a watch.
I went
in
in
Austin's
thinking
case.
that it was less about the card game and more about the stuff around the card game.
No.
And
It's not.
That is not the case. You really,
It's cards.
it is a card game, and everything else is kind of flavor around it.
I told my girlfriend Ashley, I talked to her about this game, and I was like, yeah, I think it's a little more than just a card game. And she was watching me play it. She's like, seems like a card game. And I would just keep playing it. I was like, more cards. And then once Act 3 started, I was like, hey, Ashley. And she was like, what? I'm like, it's a card game. She's like, yeah, I thought so. Anyway, Austin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And Mox, thank you for joining us and nominating this wonderful game.
Thank you guys for playing it.
Yeah. I'm Tyler. This was Video Game Club, and we're out.